The envelope arrived on a Tuesday, its crisp white surface embossed with a golden monogram that seemed to mock the peeling paint of Lily's tiny apartment. She turned it over in her hands, her heart racing as she recognized the return address: 1784 Belmont Avenue, the sprawling estate of the Harrington family. Lily Chen, a 22-year-old art student working 3 jobs to make ends meet, had been dating Thomas Harrington for nearly a year. Their relationship was a whirlwind of stolen moments between her shifts and his business classes, of quiet picnics in the park and late-night conversations about their dreams. Thomas was everything Lily had never dared to hope for: kind, passionate, and utterly blind to the vast gulf of wealth and social status that separated them. With trembling fingers, Lily opened the envelope and withdrew a heavy cardstock invitation. The flowing script seemed to dance before her eyes. Mrs. Victoria Harrington requests the pleasure of your company at the annual Harrington Midsummer Gala. Saturday, the 15th of July, at 8 o'clock in the evening, black tie required Lily sank onto her threadbare couch, her mind reeling. She had heard whispers of the Harrington Midsummer Gala, an event so exclusive that it made the society pages buzz for weeks. It was a gathering of the city's elite, a night of champagne and chandeliers, of deals struck over canapes and reputations made or broken with a single word. And now, somehow, she had been invited. The sound of her ancient cell phone ringing startled Lily out of her daze. Thomas's name flashed on the screen, and she answered with a shaky hello. "Lily, did you get it?" Thomas's excited voice filled her head. "I just found out Mom sent you an invitation to the gala. I can't believe she finally agreed to meet you." Lily's stomach churned. "Thomas, I don't know if I can go. I don't have anything to wear, and I've never been to anything like this before. I'll stick out like a sore thumb." "Nonsense," Thomas said firmly. "You'll be amazing. And don't worry about a dress. I'll take care of it. Please say you'll come, Lily. It means so much to me to have you there." As Lily listened to the earnest pleading in Thomas's voice, she felt a flicker of warmth in her chest. He believed in her, even when she didn't believe in herself. Maybe, just maybe, this could be the chance to show his family that she belonged in Thomas's world. "Okay," she said softly. "I'll come." Thomas's whoop of joy brought a reluctant smile to Lily's face. As they chatted about the details of the upcoming event, Lily's eyes drifted to the framed photograph on her rickety coffee table. It showed her parents, her father in his mechanic's uniform, her mother wearing the apron from the diner where she'd worked for 20 years. Their faces were tired but proud as they stood behind Lily at her high school graduation. What would they think of their daughter now, preparing to step into a world so far removed from their own? Lily's throat tightened as she imagined their reactions: her father's skepticism, her mother's worried frown. But she also remembered their constant refrain throughout her childhood: "You can do anything you set your mind to, Lily Flower. Don't ever let anyone tell you different." As she hung up the phone, Lily's gaze fell on the invitation once more. The golden letters seemed to shimmer with possibility and danger. She couldn't shake the feeling that this party would be a turning point, for better or worse. Little did Lily know that across town, in the marble-floored study of the Harrington mansion, Victoria, Harrington was sipping a glass of Chardonnay and smiling to herself. The party invitation had been sent, the bait laid out. Now it was time to see if this little gold digger who had ensnared her son would rise to the challenge, or crumble under the weight of a world she could never truly belong in. Victoria set down her glass and picked up her phone. "Cynthia, it's Victoria. I need you to spread the word about a special guest at this year's gala. Oh yes, it's going to be quite the spectacle." As the sun set over the city, casting long shadows across Lily's humble apartment and the Harringtons' manicured lawns alike, the stage was set for a night that would change everything. The countdown to the Midsummer Gala had begun. The following weeks passed in a blur for Lily. Between her shifts at the coffee shop, the bookstore, and her freelance graphic design work, she barely had time to breathe, let alone prepare for the most intimidating night of her life. Yet the Harrington Midsummer Gala loomed ever closer, an glittering specter that haunted her dreams and waking hours alike. True to his word, Thomas had arranged for a dress. It arrived in a long, elegant box, delivered by a courier who looked decidedly out of place in Lily's shabby apartment building. When she opened it, she gasped. The gown was a deep emerald green, the color of pine forests and hidden gems. Its silky fabric flowed like water through her fingers, adorned with delicate beadwork that caught the light and sparkled. Lily slipped it on, her heart pounding. The dress fit perfectly, hugging her curves and making her feel for just a moment like she truly belonged in Thomas's world. But as she turned to look in the mirror, reality came crashing back. The dress was exquisite, yes, but it couldn't hide the calluses on her hands from years of hard work or erase the worry lines that had started to form between her brows. "You can do this," she whispered to her reflection, trying to summon the confidence she desperately needed. "You deserve to be there as much as anyone else." But doubt gnawed at her, persistent and cruel. What if she used the wrong fork at dinner? What if she couldn't keep up with the sophisticated conversation? What if everyone saw right through her, recognizing her as an imposter in their gilded world? Across town, in the Harrington mansion, preparations for the gala were in full swing. An army of staff polished silver, arranged flowers, and transformed the already opulent home into a fairy tale palace. At the center of it all was Victoria Harrington, orchestrating every detail with the precision of a military general. "Mrs. Harrington," called Cynthia, her personal assistant, hurrying over with a tablet in hand. "The guest list is finalized. Everyone who's anyone will be here." Victoria's lips curled into a satisfied smile. "Excellent. And our special guest? You've made sure word has spread?" Cynthia nodded, a glint of mischief in her eyes. "Oh, yes, ma'am. Everyone's buzzing about Thomas's mysterious new girlfriend. They can't wait to meet her." "Perfect," Victoria purred, taking a sip of her afternoon tea. Let's see how our little Cinderella handles the spotlight, shall we?" As Victoria turned back to supervising the gala preparations, Thomas entered the room, his brow furrowed with concern. "Mom, can I talk to you for a minute?" Victoria's expression softened as she looked at her son. Despite her misgivings about his choice in girlfriends, Thomas had always been her weak spot. "Of course, darling. What is it?" Thomas hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "It's about Lily. I know you're not thrilled about us dating, but she really means a lot to me. Could you maybe try to make her feel welcome at the gala?" For a moment, Victoria's carefully constructed mask slipped, revealing a flicker of genuine emotion. She saw the earnestness in her son's eyes, the hope that his two worlds could somehow merge seamlessly. A pang of something, guilt, regret, tugged at her heart. But then the moment passed, and Victoria's society smile was back in place. "Don't worry, Thomas. I'm sure Lily will fit right in." Thomas, relief evident on his face, didn't catch the dangerous glint in his mother's eye. He hugged her quickly and hurried off, leaving Victoria alone with her thoughts and her schemes. As the sun began to set on the eve of the gala, three very different scenes played out across the city. In her tiny apartment, Lily stood before her mirror, practicing her posture and reminding herself to breathe. The beautiful green dress hung nearby, both a promise and a challenge. In his room at the Harrington mansion, Thomas adjusted his bow tie, his thoughts filled with excited anticipation of introducing Lily to his world and finally bridging the gap between the two halves of his life. And in her private study, Victoria Harrington made a few last-minute phone calls, ensuring that every piece was in place for the spectacle she had planned. Tomorrow night would be a test of love, of class, of character. And Victoria was determined to see Lily fail. Little did any of them know that fate had its own plans for the Harrington Midsummer Gala, plans that would shatter expectations and change their lives forever. As night fell over the city, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. The stage was set, the players were ready, and the curtain was about to rise on a night that none of them would ever forget. The night of the Harrington Midsummer Gala arrived, bringing with it a palpable electricity that seemed to charge the very air. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in hues of lavender and gold, a steady stream of limousines and luxury cars began to wind their way up the long, curved driveway of the Harrington estate. Lily stood at the entrance, her heart hammering so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. The emerald dress shimmered in the warm glow of the outdoor lighting, making her look like a vision from another world. Thomas stood beside her, handsome in his perfectly tailored tuxedo, his hand resting reassuringly on the small of her back. "Ready?" he whispered, giving her an encouraging smile. Lily took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "As I'll ever be," she replied, summoning every ounce of courage she possessed. As they stepped through the grand double doors, Lily felt as though she had been transported into a fairy tale. The foyer of the Harrington mansion had been transformed into a glittering wonderland. Crystal chandeliers cast a soft, golden light over the assembled guests, their laughter and chatter creating a pleasant buzz of excitement. The air was heavy with the scent of exotic flowers and expensive perfume. Thomas began to lead Lily through the crowd, stopping here and there to make introductions. Lily did her best to remember the names and faces, to smile and nod at the right moments, to pretend that she belonged in this world of old money and older secrets. And this, Thomas said, guiding her towards a striking woman in her 50s, is my mother, Victoria Harrington. Lily's breath caught in her throat as she found herself face to face with the woman she had both dreaded and longed to meet. Victoria Harrington was the very picture of elegance, her silver-streaked dark hair swept up in an elaborate coiffure, her midnight blue gown a masterpiece of understated luxury. Her eyes, the same warm brown as Thomas's, regarded Lily with a mixture of curiosity and something else, something Lily couldn't quite identify. Mrs. Harrington, Lily said, extending her hand and praying it wasn't visibly shaking. Thank you so much for inviting me. Your home is beautiful. Victoria took Lily's hand, her grip firm and cool. Welcome, Lily. We're so pleased you could join us. Thomas has told us so much about you. There was a moment of awkward silence, broken only when a waiter approached with a tray of champagne flutes. Victoria deftly plucked 3 from the tray, handing one each to Thomas and Lily before taking one for herself. A toast, she said, raising her glass, to new friends and unforgettable evenings. As they clinked glasses, Lily caught a glint in Victoria's eye that sent a shiver down her spine. There was something predatory in that look, something that made Lily feel like a mouse being toyed with by a particularly cunning cat. The moment was interrupted by the arrival of a portly man with a jovial face. Victoria, darling, he boomed. You've outdone yourself this year. Simply marvelous. Victoria turned, her face lighting up with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Senator Blackwell, I'm so glad you could make it. Have you met my son's girlfriend, Lily? The senator turned his attention to Lily, his eyebrows rising slightly as he took in her appearance. Well, well, he said, a note of surprise in his voice. Charmed, I'm sure. And what is it that you do, my dear? Lily felt a flush creeping up her neck. I'm an art student, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. I also work at an artist, the senator interrupted, his tone patronizing. How delightful. You must show us your work sometime. Perhaps you could even do a portrait of our dear Victoria. Before Lily could respond, Victoria smoothly interjected. Now, now, Senator. Let's not overwhelm the poor girl. I'm sure she's still getting her bearings in our little world. The emphasis Victoria placed on little world was subtle, but it cut through Lily like a knife. She felt Thomas stiffen beside her, clearly catching the undercurrent of his mother's words. Mom, he began, a warning note in his voice, but Victoria was already steering the senator away, leaving Thomas and Lily standing alone in the glittering crowd. I'm so sorry, Thomas murmured, squeezing Lily's hand. She takes some getting used to. Lily forced a smile, determined not to let Victoria's subtle barbs get to her. It's fine, she said, even as doubt gnawed at her insides. Really, let's just enjoy the party, okay? As they made their way deeper into the party, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Everywhere she turned, she caught snippets of whispered conversations, saw curious glances thrown her way. She tried to focus on Thomas, on the warmth of his hand in hers, but the weight of 100 scrutinizing gazes seemed to press down on her shoulders. Little did Lily know that across the room, Victoria Harrington was orchestrating her grand plan. With each carefully placed word, each pointed introduction, she was setting the stage for a confrontation that would expose Lily for what Victoria believed her to be, a gold digger unworthy of the Harrington name. But as the night wore on and the champagne flowed freely, the air grew thick with tension and unspoken intentions. The glittering facade of the Harrington Midsummer Gala began to crack, revealing the complex web of relationships and rivalries that lay beneath. And through it all, fate watched and waited, ready to play its hand in a way that none of them, not Lily, not Thomas, and certainly not Victoria, could have possibly anticipated. As the evening wore on, the Harrington Midsummer Gala reached a fever pitch of glamour and intrigue. The grand ballroom pulsed with music and laughter, a swirling kaleidoscope of designer gowns and glittering jewels. Lily found herself swept along in the current of the party, clinging to Thomas like a lifeline in a sea of unfamiliarity. Despite her initial nervousness, Lily began to find her footing. She discovered that her artistic background gave her common ground with some of the guests who were avid collectors. Her genuine interest and knowledge seemed to surprise and impress them, earning her a few approving nods and warm smiles. However, Victoria Harrington was not about to let Lily's small victories go unchallenged. As Lily was engaged in an animated discussion about contemporary art with a renowned gallery owner, Victoria glided over, her face a mask of polite interest. Lily, darling, Victoria interrupted smoothly, I couldn't help but overhear. You seem to know so much about art. Tell me, have you had the chance to see the Monet exhibition at the Metropolitan? It's simply exquisite. Lily felt her cheeks flush. I haven't had the opportunity yet, Mrs. Harrington. My work schedule hasn't allowed for much free time lately. Victoria's eyebrows arched in feigned surprise. Oh, I thought surely Thomas would have taken you. It's not like him to miss such an important cultural event. The implication hung in the air, clear as crystal. Lily didn't belong in this world of high culture and leisure. She was an outsider, a girl who had to work for a living instead of appreciating fine art. Thomas, sensing the tension, quickly stepped in. Actually, Mom, Lily and I were planning to go next weekend. We've both been looking forward to it. Victoria's smile didn't waver, but her eyes glittered dangerously. How lovely! I'm sure it will be quite the education for you, Lily. As Victoria sashayed away, Lily felt her confidence crumbling. She excused herself, needing a moment alone to collect her thoughts. Finding a quiet alcove off the main ballroom, she leaned against the wall, taking deep breaths to calm her racing heart. Don't let her get to you, came a voice from beside her. Lily turned to see an elegant, older woman watching her with kind eyes. Victoria Harrington has always been more viper than hostess. Lily managed a weak smile. Is it that obvious? The woman chuckled. Only to those of us who've been on the receiving end of her barbs. I'm Eleanor Rothschild, by the way. I was new money once, too. Lily's eyes widened in recognition. Eleanor Rothschild was a legend in the business world, a self-made billionaire who had clawed her way to the top through sheer determination and brilliance. It's an honor to meet you, Mrs. Rothschild, Lily said, straightening up. I've read about your work in sustainable energy. It's inspiring. Eleanor's eyes twinkled. Call me Eleanor, dear, and thank you. It hasn't been an easy road, but it's been worth every struggle. She paused, studying Lily intently. You remind me of myself at your age. Don't let them make you feel small. You have something they can't buy, authenticity. Before Lily could respond, a commotion erupted in the main ballroom. The sound of breaking glass was followed by gasps and a sudden hush falling over the crowd. Lily and Eleanor exchanged glances before hurrying back to see what had happened. The scene that greeted them was chaos barely contained by social decorum. In the center of the room stood Victoria Harrington, her expensive gown splattered with red wine. Beside her, a server stood frozen in horror, the remains of a shattered crystal glass at his feet. You clumsy fool, Victoria hissed, her carefully cultivated composure cracking. Do you have any idea how much this gown costs? You'll pay for this with your job? The young server, a boy who couldn't have been more than 19, looked close to tears. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Harrington. It was an accident. I tripped, and I don't care for your excuses, Victoria snapped, her voice rising. You clearly don't belong in a place like this. Security, remove this incompetent immediately. The crowd watched in stunned silence as two burly security guards moved towards the trembling server. It was an ugly scene, all pretense of civility stripped away to reveal the cruel hierarchies that underpinned this glittering world. In that moment, something snapped inside Lily. Without thinking, she stepped forward, placing herself between Victoria and the young server. Mrs. Harrington, Lily said, her voice clear and steady. It was an accident. Surely there's no need for such drastic measures. Victoria's eyes narrowed dangerously. I beg your pardon? Lily took a deep breath, acutely aware of all eyes upon her. I said it was an accident. This young man doesn't deserve to lose his job over a simple mistake. In fact, she continued, an idea forming, I think I can help, and he won't. To the astonishment of everyone present, Lily reached into her clutch and pulled out a small sewing kit. She always carried it with her, a habit born from years of mending her own clothes. If you'll allow me, Mrs. Harrington, I think I can minimize the stain. It won't be perfect, but it should get you through the evening. A hush fell over the room as everyone waited to see how Victoria would react. For a long moment, the older woman simply stared at Lily, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, a smile spread across her face. Not the practiced society smile she had worn all evening, but something genuine and almost impressed. "Well," Victoria said softly, "it seems my son has found himself quite the resourceful young woman. Very well, Lily. Show us what you can do." As Lily set to work, her deft fingers quickly addressing the worst of the wine stain, she felt the energy in the room shift. Whispers of admiration replaced the earlier judgmental murmurs. Thomas beamed at her with pride, while Eleanor Rothschild nodded approvingly from across the room. In that moment, Lily realized that she had passed a test she hadn't even known she was taking. By standing up for what was right, by offering a practical solution instead of empty flattery, she had shown her true character, and in doing so had begun to earn her place in this world on her own terms. But the night was far from over, and as Lily worked to salvage Victoria's gown, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much bigger transformation, not just for her, but for everyone present at the Harrington Midsummer Gala. The remainder of the Harrington Midsummer Gala unfolded like a dream with Lily at its center. The Weinstein incident had transformed her from an object of curiosity and mild derision into someone worthy of respect. Guests who had previously ignored her now sought her out, eager to speak with the young woman who had shown such poise and resourcefulness. Victoria Harrington, for her part, seemed to regard Lily with new eyes. The cutting remarks and thinly veiled insults had ceased, replaced by a watchful silence that Lily found both unnerving and oddly hopeful. As the night wore on, Lily found herself in a quiet corner of the garden, needing a moment to process the whirlwind of events. The cool night air was a welcome respite from the heated ballroom, and the distant strains of music provided a soothing backdrop to her tumultuous thoughts. "Quite a night, isn't it?" Lily turned to find Thomas beside her, his eyes shining with pride and love. She smiled, leaning into him as he wrapped an arm around her waist. "It's been intense," Lily admitted. "I still can't believe I did that. Your mother probably thinks I'm insane." Thomas chuckled. "Actually, I think you've impressed her, and that's no small feat, believe me." Before Lily could respond, they were interrupted by the sound of approaching footsteps. To their surprise, it was Victoria who emerged from the shadows, her expression uncharacteristically soft in the moonlight. "I hope I'm not interrupting," Victoria said, her voice lacking its usual sharp edge. "I wondered if I might have a word with Lily, alone." Thomas looked at Lily, concern evident in his eyes. She gave him a reassuring nod, and he reluctantly left them, casting a warning glance at his mother as he went. For a long moment, Victoria and Lily stood in silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging between them. Finally, Victoria spoke. "I owe you an apology, Lily," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've behaved abominably towards you, and you've shown nothing but grace in return." Lily blinked in surprise. "Mrs. Harrington, Please," Victoria interrupted, holding up a hand. "Let me finish. When Thomas told me about you, I was afraid that you were using him, that you would hurt him or tarnish our family's reputation. I've seen it happen before, you see. Gold diggers and social climbers who view my son as nothing more than a ticket to a better life." She paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. "But tonight I saw something in you that I didn't expect. I saw kindness, quick thinking, and a strength of character that I've rarely encountered in all my years in high society. You stood up for that server, not because it would benefit you, but because it was the right thing to do, and in doing so, you showed me how wrong I've been." Lily felt tears pricking at her eyes, overwhelmed by Victoria's words. "Thank you, Mrs. Harrington. That means more to me than you know." Victoria smiled, a genuine warmth in her expression that transformed her entire face. "Call me Victoria, please. And thank you, Lily, for loving my son, yes, but more importantly, for being exactly who you are. Our world needs more people like you, people who haven't forgotten the value of compassion and hard work." As they talked, Lily began to see Victoria in a new light. Behind the polished exterior was a woman who had fought her own battles, who had faced judgment and scrutiny at every turn. In Lily's authenticity and resilience, Victoria saw echoes of her younger self. The woman she had been before society's expectations had hardened her. Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion from the ballroom. They hurried back inside to find a group gathered around Eleanor Rothschild, who was speaking animatedly. Wait and a Stewie, and that's why I've decided to launch a new initiative, Eleanor was saying. A mentorship program for young, talented individuals from diverse backgrounds who might not otherwise have access to the opportunities in our world. And I'd like to announce our first mentor mentee pair. Eleanor's eyes scanned the crowd, coming to rest on Lily. Lily Chen, would you do me the honor of being the first mentee in this program? Your actions tonight have shown me that you have the potential to go far, and I'd be proud to guide you on that journey. A hush fell over the room as all eyes turned to Lily. She stood frozen for a moment, overwhelmed by the offer and its implications. Then, slowly, a smile spread across her face. I would be honored, Mrs. Rothschild, Lily said, her voice clear and confident. Thank you for this incredible opportunity. As applause filled the room, Lily felt Thomas's arm around her waist and saw Victoria beaming at her with genuine pride. In that moment, she realized that she had not only survived the Harrington Midsummer Gala, she had thrived. The rest of the night passed in a blur of congratulations and well wishes. As the last guests departed and the first light of dawn began to streak the sky, Lily found herself once again in the garden, this time with Thomas by her side. So, he said, pulling her close. Was it as bad as you feared? Lily laughed, shaking her head. It was transformative. I came here feeling like an outsider, and now, she trailed off, still processing everything that had happened. And now you're the belle of the ball, Thomas finished, his eyes twinkling. I always knew you were amazing, Lily. I'm just glad everyone else finally sees it too. As they shared a kiss in the soft light of the breaking day, Lily marveled at how much had changed in a single night. She had arrived at the Harrington estate feeling like an imposter, out of place in a world of wealth and privilege. She was leaving with new allies, new opportunities, and a newfound confidence in her own worth. The Harrington Midsummer Gala had indeed been a turning point, but not in the way anyone had expected. It had revealed the true strength of Lily's character, the depth of Thomas's love, and even the capacity for growth and change in someone like Victoria Harrington. As Lily and Thomas walked hand in hand back towards the house, where a new day and a new chapter of their lives was dawning, Lily realized that the greatest transformation of all had been in her own heart. She had proven to herself that she belonged anywhere she chose to be, not because of her background or her connections, but because of who she was at her core. The path ahead would not be easy, but Lily Chen was ready to face it, with grace, determination, and the unwavering knowledge that she was worthy of every opportunity that came her way.